Well, another Unmuted with Marsha, and this time we have the guest in the here in the studio with us. I'm telling you, live and in person, Lara Trump. You all know her. You've watched her, vice chair of the RNC, and did a phenomenal job there. I don't know if you'd ever thought about, I want to run a political operation or not. You didn't have that on your bingo card coming out of college, right?
No, ma'am. I did not have that on the bingo card.
Right.
But here we are.
But here you are, and you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
You do your own podcast.
I do.
The Right View.
Yep. I do it 3 days a week, and it's so fun, and it's great. This is how people are getting information.
That's right.
Senator, you know that it's a new era, and you look at this election and you see how influential and how impactful the podcast space was. So I love that we have the ability, like we're doing right now, to talk directly to people with no one in between. And it's direct to audience, and I think people love it. So I've enjoyed doing it.
Well, they do love it, and I say all of the time that the most important network in news right now is the YOU. It is an individual with their circle of friends because they're not sitting down and watching a news report. They're listening to podcasts. They're watching different websites and tuning into, this news or that news. They kind of pull their own network together, and then they use that to forward things and influence their friends, and that's what people are listening to.
Yeah.
That's how all these audiences have grown so very much. This is a big weekend. People are very excited. And I told President Trump the other day that people in Tennessee were so excited. We had, in the first 3 weeks after the election, we had 10,000 requests for tickets.
Wow.
10,000. Of course, we get like 360 tickets all total.
So if you're coming from Tennessee, feel very lucky.
That's right. But, we just have so many people that are so excited. And it is like people are just saying bye-bye to Biden. They are ready to get this over with.
They're ready for Donald Trump to come back in office. And it's funny because no one wanted 8 consecutive years of Donald Trump in the White House, more than I did, more than those of us in our family did. I think you could argue that for most of the Republicans in the country. However, I actually think the timing of what we're seeing happen right now is really incredible because the feeling is so different. And I think that's the thing that has really impressed me the most is, yes, it would have been great to have those 8 years in a row. And unfortunately, our country has suffered because of the last 4. The world has suffered because of the last 4. But it also has had this ability to wake people up. And I think to give people a little bit of a different insight into Donald Trump, who he is, the idea that the mainstream media has painted this man as a monster, dictator on day one, all the horrible things they've said about him. I think people have started to realize that's not true. And the feeling of optimism and hope, not just in America, but around the world right now, is incredible. And so, yes, we're excited. We want to get the 46th president, let him finish his term in office, and let's usher that 47th president
That's
in.
we will cheer as he heads to Delaware. We certainly will. And I know the American people have. And Laura, I'd like to get your take on something. As we have gone through these hearings with these cabinet nominees and worked through this process and gone through the preparation with the hearings, getting them ready, and then being in the room, one of the things that is not lost on a lot of us is the fact that the Democrats seem to have learned nothing. Nothing. You would think that they would have learned something, but in the judiciary hearing we had recently with Pam Bondi, it was just like they were their belligerent selves and attacking her. And have you seen this as you've been around the country, that the Democrats seem to have learned nothing from November and the election?
Unfortunately for them, maybe fortunately for us, the answer to that is yes. And it's shocking because if you're not able to do a little bit of self-reflection, then I don't know what kind of hope they're going to have for their party. And look, as the co-chair of the RNC, that's okay with me. But I do think it would be nice for people to set aside the politics that have just inundated all of us for so long. And I say that as the co-chair of the party because this is about America. And when you're looking at a person like you just referenced with Attorney General Pam Bondi, from, of course, Florida. She wants to be the Attorney General of the United States. The questions that they were asking her incessantly, the same January 6th, and what do you think about Donald Trump's statement on this? Would you do this? They kept going back to the same playbook, and you're right, they haven't learned their lesson. But I think what we're going to see happen is that the American people, I do believe, have started to learn their lesson. Unfortunately, it's come at a great cost to a lot of people. I think it's why you saw such a shift towards Donald Trump and Republicans in this election. I think you look at states like California, and God bless the people out in California. It is horrific. The fires, the entire situation out there. And unfortunately, it all goes back to poor leadership and bad policy. And I think you're going to see a lot of people either leave California or start to decide maybe they need to vote a different way in order to get their state back. So maybe they haven't learned their lesson, but you know what? It'll be to their detriment, and hopefully it's to our benefit.
Well, and certainly we are the big tent party.
Yes.
We have so many people from so many different walks of life and so many different thoughts. We have the social conservatives, we have social liberals, we have economic conservatives, and I think that we see that in our party and we decide what is going to be best for the country.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm always willing to have a conversation with anyone that wants to make the lives of Tennesseans and all Americans better. So talk to me a little bit about, as you all as a family look at this, what you're looking for. What are your hopes for the next 4 years? And then I'm going to turn the question on you.
Well, my hope for the next 4 years is obviously that we see all of the bad policy decisions that really have hurt the American people rectified. And I think you're going to see that very quickly. I think day one, when Donald Trump steps foot back at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue into that Oval Office, he's going to start signing executive orders. He's going to protect our southern border. He's going to make us energy independent again, hopefully energy dominant again. He's going to turn around the ship that Joe Biden, unfortunately, has just sailed completely in the wrong direction for this country. But my personal hope, as his daughter-in-law, as a member of this family, and as someone who has known this man pre-politics, has seen him go through hell and back in the past 9 years, I really hope that people get a bit of insight into who Donald Trump really is. That, again, to go back to kind of how I started, the monster that was sold to you is not the person who he is. Mm-hmm. I actually believe that his legacy will be unity for this country, because he always says success will bring us together. Success will unify us. He's not out for revenge. He's not out for retribution. Now, if anyone did anything wrong, then they should be punished accordingly. But I think he wants every American's life to be better. And I think once people start feeling that, it's going to be pretty hard to hate this guy like they've been trying to convince people to do. So my hope is that he is a unifying figure. And I actually believe, despite all they've done to him and all they've tried to sell the American people about him, he will actually be that person.
I agree with you on that. I think you're going to see that. And I think that Mrs. Trump, moving back as the First Lady with the Be Best program, and everything she's doing to really encourage and protect children, I think that is going to be something that will be well received. So many people never even knew about it.
Right.
Because your websites and magazines didn't want to give any press.
If they don't put Melania Trump on the cover of some magazines this time,
Isn't
they're
that
crazy,
the
Senator.
She's the most wonderful woman.
And gorgeous, the most gorgeous first lady. I mean,
absolutely.
It's incredible. So I feel like you're seeing people start to come around. Look, Donald Trump got a commemorative Diet Coke. Okay, would you ever have guessed that 8 years ago you would have seen something like that happen? To see, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, I had dinner
Mark
with
Zuckerberg,
all of them. Everybody, they get it, and they
do
understand. And I hope we see more of that happen.
And I tell you who else gets it. and that is the men and women all across this country who will tell you every day they're tired of an open southern border
Yes.
with drug dealers, human traffickers, fentanyl, and gangs that are in communities that have never had a gang. They're tired of being broke. They're tired of having to work 2 jobs. They're tired of 20% inflation, which is the real inflation number. And they are sick and tired of what they have seen happen with 2 tiers of justice, 2 tiers of treatment, 2 tiers of access to the government. So we are very hopeful.
Yes.
And I know all of you watching are very hopeful. Thank you for joining us for another Unmuted with Marsha. Lara Trump, we are grateful for you and your family. Thanks
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.